So tonight, as I will speak a little bit on what we're going to do, and I would like to do some little experiences with the meditation. So as the title for the evening talk is Nourishing Inner Being. So if you think about nourishing inner being, so first to think about what it is inner being, who is inner being. I think maybe raises one question, and the second is what is the food that actually nourish that inner being. So if you look at that, and first thing we can say is that what you think, the always normal ideas about ourselves that constant from the morning till evening, we kind of defending ourselves, protecting ourselves, trying to do all kind of things, trying to feed some sense of inner being. That's not who we are. No. So basically, our ego sense of who we are, who we think we are, it has nothing to do with who we are. So somehow to get some clue of that, some experience of that, I think that's very, very important part. So it's not, every time when you experience a fear is it's coming from somewhere, it's trying to protect something, or it's trying to fearful of some changes of something inside, which we are identifying that ourselves, which is, again, clearly we are not that. So one friend of mine one time told me that he said when he was getting a lot of jealous in his relationship, he said, I began to recognize myself. I began to recognize myself. I began to know myself. So I was listening very carefully what he was saying, and he was referring, in some sense, his jealousy as himself. Because jealousy has nothing to do with him. Jealousy is an experience, but he's not jealous. He has an experience of jealousy. So somehow, very often we identify, when we think or when we feel some sense of I, we always identify that with the wrong person. Just basically that, all the time, consistent. Any time when we think I feel something, that's not you. Anytime when you think I lost something, that's not you. You didn't lose anything. The only way to, as in the Dzogchen teaching, it says you will never find yourself if you keep on looking yourself, because you never lost yourself. So anytime when we feel something like that, we are identifying with the wrong person. So the only way to have some sense of that inner being is the only time to have some sense of experiences of inner being will be moment when we look inside, moment when we remain still, moment when we remain silent, moment when we remain a spaciousness in our heart and mind. That's it. Anytime we can experience that inner being, I repeat again, moment when we remain some sense of still in our body, some sense of experiencing silence in our speech or in our head, and some sense of a spaciousness in our heart or in our mind. If you look at this very moment, a moment when you're drawing attention, listening to me here tonight, this very moment, if you can feel that sense of stillness, if you can hear that some silence in yourself, and it's also a matter of just paying a little attention. It's not like working so hard trying to connect with it. It's nothing to do with working hard. In fact, the harder you work, the more distance you will be from yourself. So if it's just a little attention and awareness in every given moment, if one is able to pay, and which means as a speaker tonight, If I'm paying a little attention to myself as I speak, I can feel that stillness. That's this little silence that I'm taking. I'm trying to be aware of that. That this little silence, a gap between my words that I'm taking, I'm trying to listen to that silence. I'm trying to be aware of that, the spaciousness inside myself, in my mind. It's just simply a matter of drawing attention. If I feel that, then that is who I mean by I, me. That sense of awareness, that stillness. So, and how we nourish that is, again, the food is also, if you think about like a universe, like an infinite universe, or you can think about maybe space, the infinite space. What is this in this infinite space? What exists in this infinite space is many universes. In this space, the infinite space, what it exists there is this, all the elements, the earth, the water, the fire, air, all these elements exist in this space. That any time when we are conscious of any element, we are finding some relationship with it. And anytime when we find some relationship with those elements nourish us. It's just amazing. If you go out in the nature, a two-person can go out in the nature, and one is trying to be fully aware of the energy, the liveliness, the power of the nature, and one is fully disconnected with the nature. Just imagine these two individuals walks in the nature, but what one is getting out of that connection is so much nourishment, just being in the nature and being aware, particularly being aware of the connection of the nature. This is talking about the trip in Tibet. That was my experience, like a constant, this sense of nourishment coming from the power of the nature. It's there. So this is the example. So if you look inside ourselves, you can say, I as an individual, I can say I as an individual, I am that infinite space. The infinite space. If I close my eye, I look inside myself, I am that infinite space. And if I draw attention in that infinite space, I get everything what I want. I'm not talking about the car. I'm not talking about the food. In some sense, yes, food, but I'm not talking those gross sense. But what really nourish our inner being, it's all the things are right in that infinite space inside. And the only way also to in some sense of to able to connect and feel and retrieve and nourish from those qualities is the only thing what connects us with that is our awareness. So, saying that, if you look at this very moment, if you close your eye, the earth is there, the inner earth is there. What does that mean? You close eye, if you're feeling that stillness, silence, and spaciousness, in that space, there's a gravity. There is a sense of connectedness. There is a sense of being. There is a sense of, this being which feels like almost like indestructible. Indestructible. It's as I repeat this quality, like connectedness, centeredness, sense of balance, sense of being, sense of indestructible. in that space there is sense of indestructible. The more I'm familiar with that sense awareness, through my awareness, more I'm familiar with that sense of indestructible, the more confidence naturally I'm going to feel. No matter what I'm facing, no matter what kind of challenges I'm facing, it's very natural to feel more sense of confidence and okayness, just because that quality is fully present without depending on anything or anybody. It's just simply closing eye, draw attention to there, it's right there. Water. If I draw attention again, I close my eye and I'm trying to look in that space, there is a very natural sense of comfort. The comfort of being myself, comfort of that beingness. Because it's that moment, it is free from what it's trying to become. That moment, it is already, it is a complete. And it is having some sense of that completeness that very moment. Simply that awareness, when it's drawn attention there, it just feels that, it's just there. There's a sense of comfort there, so that's the water elements. Fire. If you think about like a sense of warmth, love, creativity, energy, inspiration, enthusiasm, anything you name, any of these qualities, the moment if you close your eye, if you feel that space, it's right there. It might take some time to manifest out as a form, as a form, as an experience of mind, as a product or something manifesting outside, as a piece of art or music or writing or discovery, whatever. But that space is clearly providing those qualities to happen. So the fire is so much there. In some sense, if you think about a simple way or a simple notion of joy, for example, everybody kind of talks about like inner joy. Joy is inside, happiness inside. What does that mean actually? What does it actually mean is if you close those activity of your thoughts, the ego, find that stillness, silence and spaciousness, there is that space, and that space has naturally existing warmth there. But it's a question about becoming more familiar with that. When you're familiar with that enough, one day, soon, the emotion, what we call emotion joy, will come out. Something that probably you never feel, you don't feel that often, that emotion will come out as a joy, what we call joy, kind of some sense of excitement or emotion. But it's only coming out from that place when you're providing that space to come out. The most of the time, those emotions shut down. Nothing comes out. Not because it's not there, because you're closed. You're not aware of that space from which that joy is given birth to. And very often your ego is so caught up with the product of joy, what means joy outside, and totally ignoring the source of that joy inside. And it's never going to come out because you're not aware of the source. You're not aware where it is. You're looking at the wrong place and you're working for wrong place or with wrong things. That's the fire, for example. Air, air in a sense of creativity or development. So if you think about creativity and development, or even the idea of one of the very important quality, but I think for us ordinary people will be this sense of being stuck in something, like or not able to move, stuck in some thoughts and emotions, and stuck into ego, or stuck in success, stuck in failure, stuck in excitement, stuck in sense of lost. One can be stuck in anything. But if you don't come out of that, or you're not able to come out there, but one of the reasons you're not able to come out there is lack of air, the movement. So again, where is the air? If you go into that sense of stillness, silence, spaciousness, just simply draw attention of some sense of flow of energy. You can feel that. You can feel being there, probably even the blood flow in your body totally different. As people are saying, meditating, half an hour or hour every day, people are talking about, even changing the size of brain or something. It's not talking about, doing so much. It's talking about not doing anything. It's about being aware of that stillness. So, air. So, earth, water, fire, air, even the idea of space, it's also there. If in that stillness, any given, of course we can all say, okay, here, this wonderful space, sacred space here, easier for us to tune into that space of mind, and easier for feel that sense of stability, joy. But what about when we face everyday life? Actually, that is the most fun place. I find that's the most fun place to look. And my personal experiences with these, it's amazing. It's places where you can think there is no joy at all. If you go into that space and you look there, you find it fully, as much or more than where you thought joy should be. Because joy does not distinguish any places. It's your ego who is trying to, make all these labels. You say, this is the wrong place to be happy. And there are people who don't have too many places to be happy. If they are happy, they will say, why I'm happy? They will say, why am I happy? Why me? And that's all you need to say, and that's it. Yes, you're right. You're not you're wrong person. Sorry, I'm leaving. It's gone. Next thing you see is joy disappears. So shamans do a practice, something called soul retrieval practices, and the idea of the soul retrieval practice is the principle behind is that sometimes people can lose some basic fundamental elemental qualities in their life, like earth. When they lose earth, they are very ungrounded. They're ungrounded in themselves. They're ungrounded if they're doing some work. They can feel very ungrounded there. If they're having some thoughts of some interesting project, they're very ungrounded in that. If they're having a relationship, they're very ungrounded there. They're ungrounded in everything because they're ungrounded in themselves. Therefore, sometimes that causes some sense of sickness. They lose energy. And shamans sometimes they diagnose that as saying, you have lost your soul. That means you lost the earth. So whatever reason, one student of mine, she said when she lost her grandfather, after explaining what these teaching this principle means, and she said, after hearing you, when I lost my grandfather, now I realize when I lost my grandfather, I lost my earth, because I was very grounded. My grandfather was my earth, my father, my mother, my friend. My grandfather was everything for me, because my parents were not there for me. So when I lost him, I felt totally disconnected. And when I look back after that experience, I never felt again same way again. I felt, now I realize some of the things what happening in my life, particularly in relationship, not able to connect with somebody, I realize why it's happening. Because I lost my earth. The question is, like situations like that, can I bring back my earth? Of course you can bring back earth. Not by forcing yourself, trying to be stronger. You know, everybody does that. But going into that space inside, that infinite space, because these qualities are already there. You just everybody has access. It's a question about, can you access that? Can you trust that? When you're feeling so much pain in yourself, if you go inside that place, and when you find that little joy inside there, can you trust that joy? Or you can say, that joy doesn't mean anything because I haven't solved my problem. Can you trust that joy? Can you be with that joy? If you find it, can you be with that joy for a moment? Can you breathe together with that joy? I know you're very interested and excited about focusing back, thinking back about your problem, but can you share a little more time with that? Yeah, if you can, it will, just doing that little bit will, next time you feel completely different. You feel completely different. You feel like more familiar. You know where to go. You trust that support inside yourself. So this is one example. So it's like a retrieving or connecting this. So the essence of 5 elements are like a food for your inner being. So the essence of 5 elements are food of your inner being. Shamans will call from nature. They will go to the earth. They will go to the water. They will go to the air. They will worship those beings, spirits behind those elements. The rituals, the chantings, prayers, offerings, many things involved how to retrieve those essential elements from the nature to heal. But can you do a similar way in a practice of, more like a practice of nature of mind? Can you do the similar way without so much singing, without so much ritual, without so much, all the things that maybe you might feel very complicated to do? Without all of those things, can you do it? Of course you can do it. That's the beauty about it. You don't need nothing to do it, except you need awareness. And awareness, you don't have to go anywhere to find it. It's just a matter of drawing simple attention. You close eye and you look inside. You listen to that. You feel that stillness. You feel that silence. You be aware of that spaciousness, just right there. That is like moment you're aware of that you are aware of that infinite space. So in that infinite space, it's not like you're kind of searching something. It's simply being aware. If I feel like if I feel like need some sense of peace inside myself, so inner peace, first I go into that space. I close my eye, go into that space. I don't do anything. I find it there. I find it there. When I find the inner peace, I feel that sense of peace when I'm aware of that inner space. Question is, do I trust that? How often I go there? How real it is for me? Can that experience of feeling peace, can that inside sense of feeling peace, will it help me to feel peace when I'm facing challenge with outer situation in my life, challenges facing with work or finance or family, or whatever the crisis that you are facing, can I find a help from that inner sense of peace? Of course it's going to help. But the question is, how often you go there to look for, find it, and then trying to come out in the world. How often you do that? We don't do that. What we're trying to do is we totally kind of shut that place inside ourselves. We're just trying to fix outside everything. Like insurance company is a good example of it. I mean, in the West, the extreme situation of the insurance company is a very good example of it, you know. The idea is trying to have a peace of mind. But how many people do have a peace of mind? With or without? So the point here, what I'm trying to say here is, first have some sense of, trying to be a little bit free from your false sense of I, false sense of yourself, to kind of recognize that a little bit. And then trying to come to a place more true sense of yourself, and then trying to nourish that with whatever necessity in particular given moment in your life, whatever challenges you are facing in your life, particular situation in your life, there might be specific thing necessity. It's just simply being aware of that. So let's say I talked about 4 elements. The second one, I'm going to just say a few words, is the 4, what we call 4 quality. 4 quality will be peace, 1, expansive creativity, 2, sense of power, strength, inner strength, confidence, 3, and fearlessness, no fear, fearlessness. Or we can also, we can say wrathful. In a Tibetan tantric iconography, you can see these wrathful deities. They look very wrathful, very ferocious, kind of look a little scary, but they're the most compassionate being behind those scary faces. So, can we have these 4 qualities? And sometimes for us, it's very difficult. When we are angry, we lose all these qualities. And sometimes even when when you're feeling some sense of peace, but you also lose the quality of creativity sometimes. In one given moment, we are not very good at encompassing all these quality at one time. So first, can you recognize what one of these qualities, this moment in your life, what one of these qualities most missing? Just being aware of that. Of course, if you say, I wanted to have peace, or I wanted to have expansive, or I wanted to have power, or I wanted to have, that's ego talking, right? It's I want. And is there anything more? I want also. But not that, just simply being aware in your life, this moment in your life, what are the things that you feel will nourish, what are the quality will truly nourish your inner being? What are the quality, either it is talking about the 5 qualities of the elements, or talking about these 4 qualities I just mentioned, that they also, sometimes they correspond, overlap each other. So basically, either way, what are the qualities that you feel will nourish your inner being this moment in your life? Right? It's a simple question. And once you find out what are the qualities then it's not a question about going so far, spending so much money, doing so many things. It's not about any of those things. It's just tuning into that infinite space and discovering it's already there, nourishing it. Let's say, second one, quality, like the expansiveness, the creativity. let's say in any given moment in our life when we feel stuck, what we want to look for some solution. How we're trying to find a solution, not when you get agitated, when you're trying to force yourself. When we try to do that, we even forget numbers, Sometimes you're trying to almost forget your name, when you're in those moments. So how you can be creative when you don't remember your name or numbers, telephone numbers, or just something like that. Things you remember, you forget things you remember, how you can be creative? No, you cannot. So just think about, if you go into that space, that's the base. Just feeling that space. Not looking for the result so much, just being in that space. I'm just taking a break from outcome solution. I'm just going in and being in that space, infinite space. If my awareness mature enough in that space, it will not stay like that, because that's called maturing. New feelings will come up. New thought will merge. New emotion will emerge from that place. And those thoughts and those emotions will be the source of creativity. Those thoughts and those emotions will find solution, because it's coming from a very pure place. So, I think there's kind of two aspects here. First one is to, of course, in the West, probably people, everybody will think, but I feel the inner peace. What that will do in my job, how it will change my job situation, or something like that. Immediately, from the awareness to matter, into action, into dollar. That's immediate translation, right? In the West, that's what people do. Well, probably it will happen that way. If that's the direction you wanted to go, it will happen that way. But the only way it's going to happen, best way it's going to happen, is when you not disconnect with that space. And when you always connected with that space, whatever outcome will be, you'll be happy with that outcome. But when you lost that connection to that space, whatever outcome, even the outcome is much better than you expected, you will still be not happy with that outcome, because you think, with all this mistake, if I did that well, then without a mistake, I should have done much better, so I'm still doing the wrong thing. A friend of mine, he said his father is a businessman. He said, no matter how well they do every year, he always finds this is not right. He said, yes, we did make a lot of profit. Then if we did this one that way, then we would have made more. So it's never right, because you're disconnected. Okay, so I want, maybe we can do a short experience here. So first place to reflect for a few minutes will be that sense of being. And in order to do that, I will ask you to take a deep breathing in, one from both nostrils, and then when you exhale a little strong. Just like that, just do 3 times. Deep inhale and exhale it strong 3 times, and you exhale everything, your thoughts and your feelings, this very moment, whatever stuff that is in your head, in your mind, just clear that, so we can be more fully present in this moment. Just do 3 times. Now we draw our attention to our physical body. Just for a moment, feel your sole of the feet and go up all the way to the crown. Just feel entire your body. And feel a deep sense of stillness as your body is still this moment. Feel that. Be aware of the current state of your body. It's a two different thing, being still and being aware of that stillness. It's two different things. I'm asking not to be still because you are already still. What I'm asking is be aware of that stillness. Are you aware of that stillness? Are you fully aware of that stillness? Now I want you to hear this deep sense of silence. Again, I know there's no noise in this hall. There's a complete silence here. But are you aware of this silence? Probably your silence inside yourself this moment, but are you aware of that silence? Do you hear that silence? Again, it's completely two different things. Being silence inside and being aware of that silence. What we are encouraging here, it's are you aware, are you hearing of that silence? Now when you draw attention to your consciousness, to your mind is always clear. Mind is always open. Our heart is always clear and open. Ego prevents to see it. Be aware of it. Now in this moment, are you aware the openness, the spaciousness of your heart and your mind? It's completely two different things. Being open and being aware of that openness. Are you aware of that openness? Are you feeling that openness? That spaciousness, it's like a soil, but that awareness, it's like a seed to give birth to all the qualities what humans need, such as sense of peace, expansiveness, strength, confidence. That awareness gives birth to that. In this infinite space of awareness, there's all these qualities, countless qualities are perfected and present. Let's just be aware of one, sense of peace. Can you be aware of sense of peace in that infinite space of consciousness? Just be aware of deep sense of peace. Be aware of that deep sense of peace throughout your body. In the blockages in your body. Be aware of that deep sense of peace in your pain in your body. And allow that the experience of peace to heal that pain. I'm not saying try hard to heal that pain. I'm saying allow. Means you don't do anything, you just allow that awareness to do it. Allow that sense of peace to penetrate in the places in your life where it's absence. This moment, you're nourishing your inner being with this quality of sense of peace. The awareness of sense of peace is nourishing, it's the food of that inner being, food of that soul. It's nourishing that. Probably days and weeks and months, your inner being needed this. And it's finally receiving this. It's nourishing that inner being. Let's try to be aware of another quality, a warmth, joy, and nourish our inner being with this awareness experience of joy. As we are continuously maintaining that infinite space of awareness, just simply allow and be aware of warmth. There's a warmth in that recognition. There's a warmth in that connection to yourself. As you're connected, there's a warmth there. Be aware. If you don't feel it, don't try. Just stay there. If you feel it, be aware of it. Just particularly draw your attention to the center of your body, around your heart, and feel there. Allow this warmth to expand throughout your body, through your blood, through your cells, skins, as all these billions of cells communicating with each other, they are not just communicating with each other now, they are communicating through this joy, which is sending from your heart to the rest of your body. Every part of your body is getting a signal of joy. This moment, your inner being is nourishing with the fire, with the joy. It's not your only inner being is nourishing, your whole entire physical body is nourishing too. Let's experience another quality, a confidence, a certainty. As we are being aware of that stillness and silence and spaciousness, as we're being aware of our inner being, this awareness, this inner being, it's beyond death, beyond birth, it's beyond changes. It's indestructible. As space cannot be destroyed by any force, this inner being cannot be destroyed or changed by any force. Just having a little sense, little awareness of that, your inner being, your true being, cannot be changed by any force. Be aware of that. Have confidence in it. You cannot have a confidence by saying, I wanted to have a confidence. But without that voice, if you fully be aware of that changelessness, and if you're more familiar with that awareness of changelessness, naturally that confidence is going to manifest in your life. Trust that. For now, Just simply be aware of that changelessness of that infinite space of awareness. So this very moment, you're nourishing your inner being by being aware of that changelessness, by being aware of that indestructible quality. Just being aware of that. You're nourishing your inner being becoming a strong, because it's being aware of its strength, its quality, what it is and what is perfected in it. It's being aware of that. That awareness is giving birth . Okay. Okay. So this experience, like any given moment in our life, we can always, it does not need so much to go into that space. It's very much simply trusting and a question of being aware. So if one can go into that space, if you look at as a we all know the mobile phone we carry nowadays, and especially with the mobile phones with the app, the iPhone or similar like iPhone, which has so many apps running. When you're not aware of how many applications are running in those mobile phone, and you can see the battery life goes very fast. It goes down. You're not using phone. You're not in the end. Mobile phone is something to serve to call somebody, right? And sometimes when you really need to make a call, it doesn't work because the battery is not there or something wrong with it. But on the other hand, all the unnecessary application, how many applications are running there which you are not aware? So the same principle here. If you any given moment in your life when you look in yourself, you are like your Apple, your iPhone. You are your iPhone, and it's running all those unnecessary applications which even you are not aware of, and all those applications are draining your inner being. You're not nourishing inner being; it's a draining inner being. So you're losing all those qualities out. So now, tuning into that space, not only you're not losing, but you're charging your iPhone also. So not only you're not losing, but you are nourishing your inner being. Simply, and this question about nourishing, and of course, you know, our mind is so gross. We focus on so much on the material and strong emotion experiences and strong thought experiences, but a simple, spacious awareness, probably we might not have so much, how you say, eye or awareness to value it. And those kind of, I think, one way to value that will be to just first in the beginning try a little bit, trust a little bit. And you go into a little bit there, you see, it's true. Is it true? It's not draining me? Is it true? It's charging my battery? Is it true? And if you begin to feel, yes, it's true, it's really charging my battery, then question is how often I want to recharge my battery. Right? How often? And of course, many times people say, oh, I need a right space, and I need a right partner, I need a right job, I need a right this, right that in order to charge my battery. It's not true. You know, of course it's true for you at that moment, that's unfortunate. But it's not really true. The most magical thing is, can it charge the battery when it's using it? So anytime when you, as I said earlier, anytime when you face challenges, that very moment, in the middle of that challenge, can you go that place and feel you're charging your battery? That's the best experience you can have. Just in the middle of the action. Go there. Not saying, okay, I'm going to finish this project, then I'm going to meditate. That sounds very familiar, right? I'm going to mess up all these things, then I'll find my inner peace later. That sounds very familiar. But even you're messing up, middle of your messing up, can I still have that sense of peace there? I'm feeling angry. Can I still feel that sense of peace? You can. And the moment you feel that sense of peace, it's going to change your anger. Because you found something more interesting thing. But before, your anger is the only thing interesting. Okay, so I think that's all. So think about the iPhone. You are your iPhone. You can charge your battery. You cannot lose your energy. And when you need to make phone call, you have energy, battery enough to make phone call. Real time when you need to make phone call, you have energy to do it. Not you have lost all the batteries by all these applications which you even don't know what they are. Okay, so any questions? So I'll leave a few moments for some questions. Yeah.
What can you do to increase stability? Like if you find this spaciousness or spaciousness for just a few moments, what can you do to increase stability time or a more stable experience?
Sorry, you're saying how to stabilize it? The stabilizing is first, again, you go to that place, right? You go to that place. It depends on each individual, sometimes if you're really beginner, you find it a little bit hard, then you go to those places by finding a right places. You go in a more quiet room, you go into the nature, you go to the places where no disturbances, you're trying to go into that space. It's easier to find that. Once you go there and you find it, and then it's just question about like everything else, like just stay 10 minutes there, stay 15 minutes there, feel very comfortable, feel very nourished by that, and feel like the absolutely beautiful place to be, like without going anywhere, you can just go there. So it's just a matter of like just extending more and more time. So that's one way to go for beginners. And for intermediate or a little bit more advanced, then you go moments when you can never think of going. Just, I don't know. Let's say your car breaks down in the middle of the night, it's raining and you cannot call anybody, it's cold, And you can never think about meditation in inner silence, right? You can never think about it. And that moment, you can say, why not here? And the moment you go there, you will find amazing, because that place doesn't recognize anything. That place does not know your car broke down. It's your ego, and the awareness is completely fine. So you again, some sense of who will remember. Who will think about meditating in the middle of night when you broke your car in the cold weather and stuck in the night in the street? Nobody will think about it, but you can. And if you think that way, you might find much more sense of peace. You'll find maybe more solutions. So it's like any moment. And we find enough moment in our life to do that. Right? Enough moment, enough situation in our life. And those are the time when we really need. When we find challenges, when we find some difficulty, trusting that, going to that place, that's what we need. And to remember to do that. And one time you find support, help, you do two times. Or twice you help, you get more and more confidence doing it. So that's, like getting familiar with anything. That's really a real meditation, is becoming more familiar, not just having experiences, just more becoming more familiar with that. Just anytime. That makes sense? Let's say, for example, let's just say one simple example will be facing traffic. Anybody loves traffic? Yeah? Okay. So, the moment when you face traffic, everybody reacts not comfortable reaction. So you can say yourself, and as long as you have a car, as long as you need a car, and you can say yourself, any time when I face traffic, when I feel this emotional block, and that will be a reminder for me to go into that place. Just one commitment, one awareness. It's one simple thing in life. You can just tell yourself, do that. I will promise myself, now on, any time when I face traffic, when I feel like this kind of stopped, whole heartbeat and whole my inner being stopped, not only the car, so I will remember to go to that place. Just say that. And you're not taking away time from your children, your family, your work. No excuse. You cannot say, I don't have a time to meditate, because there's no excuses. So just simply, it happens so frequently. Just if you remember that, and as I said, one day when you begin to love the traffic, that is your realization of this practice. You'll say, I love traffic. I want to get stuck in a traffic. Of course, you're not liking traffic. You like the state of being, which you found through the traffic. Is it possible? Of course, it's possible. And sometime when sometime what in our life, what we feel like, even we don't have a problem, we're so anticipating problems. This might happen, that might happen, all this possibility, like a lawyer's mind. Right? All this possibility. Yes, it could happen. That's called impermanence. It can happen, but you're anticipating so much. And what happens in anticipating so much? Sometimes inside, it doesn't feel right. You don't feel completely, this sense of flow is not there, But we get conditions by these ideas. Something might happen. And so anyway, so some sense of, I think, what I'm saying here is there are different moments in our life. It's just perfect time to do those experiences. You don't need to remember your bell. You don't need to remember your drums. You don't need to have your prayer books. You don't need your notebook. You don't need anything to do this, right? And what so-called challenges, all those challenges which we have enough, they are the reminder to do it. So you don't have to even ask anybody to remind you, because you have enough reminders. They will remind you. Only you have to tell, they are my reminder, and they are there to remind you. If you just tell they are my problem, that's another way to label that. You can say they are my reminder of my practice. That's another way to label it. As long as you want, if you're so excited and interested in labeling it, just label something more exciting, interesting ones. No, not the typical label, but like a little bit more exciting. It's illusion. The moment you see traffic, it's illusion. Tiglays, or the bindus are manifesting in the traffic light. Yeah. Any other? Yeah.
In intermediate or advanced stages or anything like that, at some state of fruition or something, is there a distinction between external manifestation or internal creative growth or manifestation?
Yes, absolutely. For example, when the short meditation we just did, just see like a sense of peace that we felt, or a sense of warmth that we felt, or a sense of confidence that we felt. So you can say, well, that's true. When I close my eye and I go into that place, I do feel those things. But the problem is, I don't feel those qualities at my work, or in my relationship. Of course, people will say that, right? Of course, that experience inside will manifest outside, for sure. There's no question about it. But is it going to manifest easy? No, it will require some time. What kind of time it requires? It has to mature. But you have to hold that space long enough that it will give the birth to something. I tell a student of mine, share her experience of her sister and being a little bit difficult with her, and her sister was basically, anyway, the short story is that her sister was kind of very yelling at her and unhappy about her and something like that in this particular moment situation, and she hold that space of awareness just for a little bit. You get yelled, right? Somebody's yelling at you, and you have a history of family karmic history here, and you're challenged by that, and you're holding that space, and then from that space came out saying, "You seem stressed out. Do you need a massage?" So, you see, is it a creative thought? Yes, very creative. When somebody's yell at you, who could think of giving a massage to that person? It's very creative, fearlessness. But where did that thought come out? It came out from holding that space. But you need to know that thought and that awareness of space has a relationship there. And probably in the Western world, that relationship is very important. That's the only reason to be practicing awareness. Or if it's producing something good like giving a massage, then maybe it makes sense to be aware of that space. Otherwise, it's just space, Who cares just about space if it's not producing something? So, again, the whole experience is what human mind is able to feel, see, think, do, comes out of amount of awareness of that inner space. How much connected there is not. So that needs little trust, But in the beginning, even it's just like like when you're in the middle of all this crisis of systems. For example, one of the things that we, in the modern society that we face a lot is the hecticness. Are you familiar with the hecticness? Just Like so much stuff going on, right? Hecticness. So what do you do? Being very hectic, right? So what do you do? What do you do? If you, in the middle of that experience, if you are able to go in that place, you immediately feel some sense of calmness. Immediately you feel. It could be middle of anything. It could be middle of email that you're writing. It could be in middle of the telephone conversation you're happening. It could be any situation in that moment. If you simply draw attention there, and you will be able to even talk. That's the most fun thing about it. While you're talking, you don't have to stop talking. And in fact, you will realize you're talking much better than if you're not aware of that. And that's the beauty about it. Is it helpful? Of course it's helpful. That's how you deal with stress. Otherwise, stress will deal with you in a different way, not with awareness. Yeah. Okay, any other? Yeah.
I just want to mention we've had consistently about 180 to 190 computers watching all around the world. I'm sure our chat screen is not working tonight, so maybe if you can let everybody know that unfortunately there's no way that we can communicate by chat, but I'm glad they've got sound and they're enjoying your talk. And I know we have friends in various places who have been very devoted watching. I'm sure there are people in Mexico and Brazil and Europe and the United States.
Okay. Bye. Hi, everybody. So basically, the chart is not working. Paul is saying chart is not working. So because we are talking about so much silence, so it's a good. So hopefully everybody's listening. This time everybody's listening without charting. Some other time it feels like everybody's charting instead of listening. Thank you. Yes?
When we sit here and go into our individual space, is it that individual? Are there 55 or 60 spaces that we're in? Or is there something universal that we're doing?
What is it? I'm not hearing it.
When we go into our individual spaces, are we in 50 or 60 different individual spaces, or are we going into some kind of universal space? Is that possible?
A 50-60 space and the universal space and all the spaces. No? So each individual, you have your own space, then you can tune into the oneness, the collective space. Pervasive space, what we call pervasive space. But your own inner space is your doorway to you. So you can sometimes when you go inside, you feel like there's some sense of you, and then sometimes you lose that sense of you, and you feel like a sense of connected with everybody else. So an ultimate sense of meditation, and when you don't have individual sense of self, the ultimate sense of awareness, that will be without the individual sense of self. Okay? Yeah.
Follow-up question. When you lose that individual sense of yourself, isn't that the time when without seeking it, you can find some very interesting ideas or answers or a different point of view on your whole life? I started getting all kinds of pictures when I wasn't really looking for them. And that could help me with some issues that might be thinking about.
Yeah. So I mean, generally our experiences of our self, everything what we do in our life, Whenever there's a much more stronger sense of individualistic, this sense of self, there seems like a more problem with that, right? Either it's a collective individual, or really individual, because it kind of prevents always to know somebody, because we can never be alone. We're all interdependent. But there's no way to just really to be, because the individualistic is always will fail and has been failing. Cannot never be, because everything is interdependent. As long as you're not aware of that, if you think about a global, warming, or the poverty, or the differences between the poor and rich, and all these problems the world is facing today, that's the result of that individualistic idea. Because if the people are more aware of that everything is interconnected, every approach should be different. So there's a more bigger perspective. So even in a two people, or in a family, or even in a group of community, the only way people come to a conflict is when there's a very strong sense of individualistic. Because, for example, people have a collective ideas about something, goal, about accomplishing goal, the mission or something like that. If people are focused on a mission, they have less problems. If people are focused on themselves, there's even sometimes they agree on things, but the idea of what I said first, or I said it's right, and just people can caught up in with the simple things like that. It just has nothing. It's just individualistic sense, and that becomes a problem for many societies. Even in between two people's relationship, what interferes is that idea of me versus us. If there's us, there's clearly less problem. If there's my, there will be more problem. That's very natural, So in meditation also the same sense, like that. So again, to go into those places, it's not either you can go easy or it's difficult to go. So only some sense of only way, I think, or the easier way is to, as what we did, just feel your body. Body should stay still and feel the body, and body could be one door. Or just go to a silence place, or just listen to the silence. So as I'm talking, I can listen to the silence. Even when in between my words, I'm hearing the silence. But when I'm speaking, it's possible I still hear the silence. But the silence never goes away. But the one who is hearing the noise, the voice, could feel that the voice is preventing the silence, but silence is still there. That's why actually sound is happening. It's happening in the silence. But it's a matter of being conscious of that, Yeah. Okay, maybe one more question if there is. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.